Hiya, John at Manor Park Classics. Going to show you some bikes that have meaning to me, a past history, something that I've either owned or a friend has owned, or I've got some experience of them. So back in the day, I had one of these. I could have only dreamt it was in anything like this type of condition. Okay, I was probably about 22, 23 when I had this. It's a GT550, and this one is absolutely original. Original mileage, hasn't been messed with at all. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous bike. You would take yourself back to a different era by riding this, but you could also just have it parked up in your office as an investment. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bike. Something that, yeah, dreams were made of in those days. Suzuki at its absolute finest. Very, very much a guide price of around about £7,000. And I cannot believe that that is anything other than a great investment. Now this is a bit special. A KTM 1190R, got all the R extra bits on, race extra bits. Beautiful, beautiful piece of kit this. 17,000 miles. Estimate maybe 6,500, somewhere around there, for one heck of a lot of bike. Now we all know the situation with KTM, currently in a predicament, to say the least. But my theory is, and I think my theory is right, that if you're going to buy a bike of this age, which is 2011, there will be plenty of spare parts already in existence. So it really doesn't matter, in my opinion, that the company themselves have stopped producing new bikes. You're not buying a new bike, you're buying a 10 or a 12 or a 15-year-old bike with 10 or a 15-year-old technology. But because it's a KTM, and because of their predicament, the price is going to be less. So the equivalent of what you're looking at now, if there was such a beast as a Honda similar, or a Suzuki similar, and certainly a Ducati, they're going to be something like the price and a half again, maybe even twice the price. You are buying a lot of serious technology for a relatively small amount of money. Now, for me, although I love race bikes, I love sports bikes, they are my passion, for me, this is too quick. It's just too quick. So you've got to be a lad, you've got to be a guy that can handle this type of power. This is probably capable of doing 175, 180 mile per hour. And for me, just too quick. But the styling and the comfort and the technology and the looks, I'd have all of that. And I suppose it is fair to say that, hey John, stop beating on about too powerful. Throttles work both ways. They do, but we're bikers. And if you've got that type of muscle power, it's hard not to use it occasionally, and it would get me in trouble. It really, really, really would get me in trouble. And I don't mean the type of trouble with the police. Hey, I live in North Wales. We've got a 20 mile per hour limit most of the place, so it doesn't matter what you ride. I can go faster on a push bike than the speed limit. I don't mean that type of trouble. I mean the type of trouble where I'm coming out of a corner and I just think to myself, I'm sure I can push myself a little bit faster. And I'd find myself in a twitch. That bike would get me in trouble. I'm not experienced enough to handle that type of power. But for all that, at £6,500, I think the buyer is getting one hell of a lot of gear. And you know what? Two people get excited next Friday, a week on Friday on the 24th, and it goes for a lot more money. I won't be surprised, and I'll be thrilled as well, because it should be worth much more money. So two people outbidding each other, and it might raise the type of money that it deserves to. I think it's a lovely bike. I chose it. The bikes I talk about are the ones that normally I've got experience with, but this one just stood out, and I'm not going to sit here and say I felt sorry for it, but I did think to myself, do you know what? With the history of KTM just at this moment in time, it's sadly that history is having a negative effect on a bike that has nothing to do with that history. That bike was made in 2011 when the company was doing extremely well. Not its fault. I think the buyer is going to be a lucky lad or lass, either or. Just make sure you can handle it. Otherwise, it's in the wrong hands. Got to be the ultimate Italian stallion. You're looking at a Ducati 996, but a very, very, very special one. One that has had an awful lot of stuff done to it. Front end off a 916 looks very familiar to me. I had a 916 myself, but then when you go back from there, you've got a carbon tank, completely transformed rear end, lots and lots of serious money spent on this thing, and it is absolutely stunning. A guide price of somewhere in the region of 28,000 doesn't sound out of the realms for such a beautiful, beautiful piece of Italian magic. Great shame. I'd like to be able to say that the Ferrari behind it is thrown in with the price, but it isn't. But likewise, you can't buy the Ferrari and expect the Ducati to be thrown in. They're two very different things, two very different animals. Both come from the same country, of course. My 916 I've got a 748 now, which is a much calmer bike. But the 916 I had frightened the hell out of me. Lovely bike, so far ahead of its time when it first came out, still looks stunning today. And in this form, the ultimate of a 996 SP5. The absolute ultimate dream bike. Way, way, way too quick for me, but not too quick for most bikers. I'm just of an age and a stage now where that little bit of extra power finishes me off. So I've got my little 748, looks very similar to an unconcerting ear. But yeah, 748, nice little bike on its own, but this thing, dreamland. In the 1970s, anybody who remembers the era, we were all whizzing around in our Yamaha FS1Es, our Honda SS50s, Galera 50 Tourers, whatever they may be. Many, many, many years later, I don't know the exact year, I'm not into knowing exactly when things come out, Honda brought this, the Dream 50cc. This is bike porn. Whichever way you look upon it, this is a picture of beauty. It is a stunning example. Actually owned by no less than the man, Colin Seeley. It's only done 5 or 6 kilometers since new. Estimated price somewhere around 6,500. It's going to be on display, isn't it? It's going to be in a fireplace, in a country pub, or it's going to be in your front room. It can't be ridden. It just can't be. Very few of these exist. As I say, not a 1970s model or anything like that. These came out as a retro re-release, and they're very different from the original bikes, as you can see. Beautiful, beautiful lines on it. Even if you don't like motorbikes, I define anyone not to love the appearance of this little beauty. Little 50cc, gorgeous, gorgeous bike with an interesting history of the fact that it was owned by Colin Seeley. So another bike that's going to come up in auction, and it's going to be very interesting to see what interest there is. you know what happens in auction. You get two people excited, you get two people that really want something, and suddenly the price goes way, way, way above anything that we can estimate. But we're trying to be realistic, and we believe that the estimate should be around 6,500 for this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous little piece of bike porn. A Honda Dream 50. Okay, something completely different, but absolutely my scene, this. 1931, actually before even I was born, so it's almost 100 years old. 500cc BSA Sloper. It's just a feat for the eyes. The more you look at it, the more you desperately want to clean it and you want to make it sparkling. Or do you? Because your big problem is that so many restored bikes, they get restored to a level which they never wear. They didn't even come out the factory gleaming. They came out the factory looking nice, but they weren't all chromed up. And sometimes I've seen restorations which really have destroyed the art of a bike. Whereas this, you're just looking at it. It's honest. It's just sitting there. It's not trying to pretend to be anything other than what it is. And at $4.5 grand estimate, surely that's not big money for a bike that in 5 or 6 years from now is going to reach its century. Amazing. We'll show you something quickly because we all like little gizmos and gadgets. Somebody has gone to the trouble of keeping the original tools and also all of the parts that they have replaced, which are no longer useful, but they've kept them all and they've labeled it. Lovely little piece of history. Someone's gone to the trouble. And everywhere you look on this, you're just seeing little bits of technology that was around 95 years ago. Absolute masterpiece. Got a proper hand control there for your gear changing. It's quite a heavy bike, but it just is a feat for your eyes. I love it. I love that era. Sadly, they're not worth as much money as I think, but I can't help thinking that they're like everything. They're still going to have their day. There's got to be a time when somebody actually recognizes that a motorcycle still on the road after 100 years has got to be loved by someone, and it's got to be used. That's going back to the restoration. This bike's ready to be used. You get it on the road and actually drive it, for goodness sake. If they're too highly restored or they've got a very low mileage, you've got to be careful. Those are the bikes that you've got to keep and look after and put them in a shelter. This baby has seen everything. It's seen winters, it's seen summers, it's seen spring, and it's seen autumns. 95 of them, including this year. I love it.